The main impact for me is to be more structured in the measurement and the metrics around our program. Because at first blush it seemed to me that the metrics were fairly obvious. People will either be employed or not employed, but they're actually a lot deeper than that. So it was different ways of analysing the outcomes of the business that's been very helpful to me, and a more analytical approach to the business has been helpful. And using the tool, and this is not really using the tool, but and I've said this before, I think one of the most beneficial aspects of this program to me has also been learning with like-minded people, because they actually sort of really contribute to the benefits of the business plan, etc., etc. And that will add.
Yeah. I think Dee mentioned something quite important, and it's about identifying the outcomes of your business. I think the benefit for me is that it makes selling a lot easier, because now I can pinpoint exactly where the impact is. So instead of going into a sales pitch and saying we change the world, which is very broad, I'm now able to say we change X, Y, and Z, and more importantly, you can put a value to it. So it's really helped refine the value or the impact of the business, and that's exactly what we're doing here. It's called Impact Map for your business.
Would you like to show us that map, or your maps?
Well, you won't be able to read my writing. I'm still filling in some blank spaces here.
Yeah. So what is the tool about? Just very briefly, what does it do for you, or what do you do with the tool?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you obviously start with the people you impact, your stakeholder. Right? So for me it would be recyclers. And you look at what sort of output your business achieves. So for me, with our electric tricycle, the output we achieve is an increase in collection, an increase in income. But so what? What's the outcome of that? The outcome of that is an increase in the quality of life. And you look at how you can measure that. So you can measure that by behavior assessment. You can measure that with surveys. However, you then move into the tough part of it, which is counterfactual. So what would have happened without your business? So if I look at informal recycling, we have been able to double the output of our recyclers. So without our recyclers, the control is earning 2,500 a month. But then you look at the real contribution. What's the real contribution? So our guys were earning 2,500, but they're now earning 5,000. So the contribution is 2,500, or so it seems. However, this is where it becomes tough. You have to look at the displacement. And this is where it becomes difficult. And this is what has been a good revealing thing for me. We look at the fact that we're increasing the recyclers' income by 100%. But where is that waste coming from? That waste was previously being collected. Half of it was being collected. So the truth is that 50% of the increase, 1,250 Rand, is coming from household collections. So 1,250 Rand is being taken away from the pool that was there. The other 50%, the other 1,250 Rand, is coming from offices from which recyclers never had access. So the truth is that even though we're increasing the amount collected by 2,500 Rand, the real value, the total value that we add is 1,200 Rand. The tough thing is that for every one recycler that is empowered with a truck, we take one quarter informal recycler loses their load, or every so a quarter recycler is replaced. So basically 4 recyclers empowered removes 1 from the system. So the net effect is 3 jobs created, and 1.
So it forces you to actually be very realistic in terms of the impact that you have.
Yes, and it's a tough one because competition is good and competition is bad. So it can have 2 outcomes. One, it can force recyclers to either up their game in the whole, or it will force recyclers to move into different areas. And the tough thing is that this is a low barriers to entry market. It's at the bottom of the pyramid, so there isn't really anywhere else to go but up. So it's got its positives and its negatives. It's been very revealing So as well as it makes for an easier sell, knowing your stakeholders and what you do for them, it's also a bit difficult because you have to be realistic about the competitive element of it. What is nice is that it's allowed me now to identify how to be fairly competitive, or rather to say to avoid unfair competition. So I realize now that the true value comes from accessing waste that hasn't been accessed before. So my goal is to take household recyclers that we're collecting from households, move them completely away from that to waste that they've never had access to. In that way, we'll not only offer new opportunities to informal recyclers, but we will enter areas that we've accessed. But then you follow on. Now I'm competing with formalized businesses. Now I'm competing with trucks. So there always is someone who loses out in a way. The nice thing is that recycling, the market's not saturated. We don't recycle everything. So a lot does go to waste, to landfill. That's what we have to capture. We have to capture the waste that's being missed, not the waste that's currently being collected. So this has been a great tool, a great map.
Great, thanks for that. So Dee, did you find it similar, that there's something revealing that you didn't anticipate before from using the tool?
I did find it revealing. It's always difficult for me in skills development. It's always very difficult to show the contribution you're making when there's so many other skills development or training organizations out there. And it helps them to focus on what part of your solution is actually something different. And to measure which stakeholders it genuinely benefits. So that has been an interesting exercise for me because it's done two things. On the one hand, it's shown me that it really is a good solution. So this, it removes a bit of self-doubt because the solution is slightly different, perhaps from what traditionally other people are doing. And on the other hand, it sort of conservatively shows that I'm going to have to work very hard at ensuring that the stakeholders can identify where the contribution lies.